single path between server and storage. Now, if you're like me, anytime you talk about anything being a single, I always think of point of failure to go with that. And so the next and final topic that we want to talk about for this nugget is the process of creating and managing multiple paths for these VMFS data stores. And just like before, I want to focus in on the iSCSI-ness of this because that's the type of storage that I have available to me. I want to do that by going back, first of all, here to the networking node. Now, you remember down here at the bottom when we were working with vSwitch 1, and I've got this VM kernel port here, and I've set it for storage, and I've given it an IP address here. Well, what I want to do is create another VM kernel port and associate that with another IP address. In this case, it'll be 206. Then I want to assign this 206 IP address to associate itself with another physical adapter. Now what that does is that essentially chains the physical adapter to the VM kernel port. And on the other side, that physical adapter ultimately to the storage and the storage processor at the storage area network. Let's go ahead and do that so we can take a look at how this might work. If I choose Properties here, and then I go to Network Adapters, and I click the Add button here, I'm going to add in VMNIC2 because I want to add in a secondary NIC. If I choose the Next button here, I want to add this to the list of active adapters for this vSwitch, and Finish. Now that I've done this, as you can see here, I've got this second network adapter here on the right-hand side, but I'm not done yet because I need to associate this physical adapter with another VM kernel port. This has to be a one-to-one mapping for the purposes of iSCSI. If I click Properties here, and then what I want to do is create another storage VM kernel port. I'm going to do so here by clicking VM kernel, Next, and I'm going to call this Storage 2. Storage 2. I'm not going to run any of those other features over this. This is just for the purposes of storage. Click Next, and then assign this the IP address that I mentioned just a minute ago, 192.168.0.206, with that 24-bit subnet mask and the original default gateway. Choose Next and Finish. And as you can see now, what I've created are two different adapters that are plugging in to two different ports. Now if you'll notice, I'm going to go back here to Storage Adapters here and take a look at the iSCSI software adapter and view properties of VMHBA33. Remember when we were working back with networking configuration and I told you to go ahead and ignore the different ports that were available, the different paths that were available? Well, you'll notice now that the path shows least active, but my port group policy is actually set to non-compliant. This is an important characteristic here because what I need to do in addition to setting up that one-to-one linkage is go one step further with the networking here in vSwitch 1. I have the first half of a one-to-one linkage between my two VM kernel ports and my physical adapters. But the one thing I want you to notice here, if I take a look at storage and then edit, and then NIC teaming, is that both of these adapters are currently considered active adapters for both of those VM kernel ports. iSCSI, in its multipathing configuration, does not like to